point that out, they will appreciate it too. I also like to commend Parker Water on the fact that they have so many employees that are so interested in the meetings and how the board works. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. Mr. Wasserman?
I have a couple questions for Ann. Ann, can you tell me if Mike Casey's wife is an employee presently or past of the water district?
She is not presently employed, she is not a past employee, she has never been an employee with the district.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. All right, and with that, we're going to move on to changes and additions to the agenda. Does anyone have anything?
Two changes. One would be a brief discussion of the WISE project, and the second one is the presentation of the Mary House photographs.
Okay. And I am going to ask Ann to speak to the issues of the segregation of the tap fees. At the last meeting, I was the someone who misspoke because I misunderstood the way we segregated those fees. So I'd like you to clarify that for everyone tonight so there's no misunderstanding on what we do with our tap fees. Okay. And now on to the approval of minutes. If there are no changes or corrections, need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of October 17, 2001.
Okay, so I have a motion, I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The 2012 budget, resolution 2011-06, excuse me, 6, resolution to adopt the budget. Are there any other questions that any board members have for staff before we go to a vote on the budget? Okay.
Well, I do, of course. James, when we talked about this budget a couple of months ago, we discussed this maintenance and repair. And I don't have the numbers written down, so I need to look them up. But in water maintenance, we are budgeting for next year $1,485,100. I was noticing on the financial, our year-to-date cost is $497,465, and you had indicated 2 months ago that you did anticipate that you were going to spend the remaining because we had budgeted $1,376,000. So are there some repairs on building that we haven't paid for yet?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
There are some, that's a couple major projects there. One on the Main Street, one Parker Road.
Over by that church?
Yep.
Okay.
Church, replacing that. We've got another one over in Antelope. We're working. There's some outstanding, small and standard ones, but those are the major ones. They're still finishing up the Battlefield project.
Okay. Okay, so you do anticipate we're gonna come in then close to budget, and you think that that $1,000,000.
I really don't know what the cost is going to be for the project, but I think that it's going to be significant.
Did you guys bid that?
No, because there's really no way to know what they're going to encounter.
For which, the valve project?
For yeah, changing out the valves.
Okay. Just doing that work.
Keep you.
Okay.
So then time and materials type contract?
Just give it to someone, whatever they want.
Is that typical for that sort of repair?
Yes, it is.
Non-material?
Because else that works, to bring somebody in to and figure out what you're gonna do with it or not. It's just parts that need to be replaced, the whole thing needs to be replaced.
Okay,
It's kind of a search and rescue mission, so
Right.
activity.
okay. Also on the, I think you explained this at our work session, but I don't recall the answer. Reader has survey and monitoring for $85,000 next year.
That's me. It's because we now, starting the first of the year, we will actually own the dam. It will not be under the control of the contractor, and we would be required to do monthly survey of the survey points and do a report back to the state to make sure the dam is sitting where it should sit, month to month. So about 60,000 of that is survey, and the balance of that then is the reporting back to the state engineer's office.
I guess another question, this would probably be more directed to Frank, but maybe you can answer this, Jim. We have, we're spending $48,000 a year on lobbyists. And I happened upon a website that lists all the lobbyists in the state and what their specialties are, all their lists all their clients actually. It's called Follow the Money. I noticed that Kathleen Otis and Steve Balsarovich neither have any water districts as other clients, and I thought that was rather odd, because I think water is such a specialty in Colorado that it would be helpful if our lobbyists, if we're going to invest that sort of money into them, would have expertise in water.
I think probably a good question for Frank, since he's the one that did hire both of those. I think Steve probably does have quite a little bit of experience in water. I know he works for Xcel Energy.
But that's not water. That's the only client, I have the client list, I actually brought it with me.
Xcel really is involved in a lot.
Well, nonetheless, that's the only other utility he has, and Kathleen Otis has none.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'd like an explanation.
Okay.
If you put that down and ask Frank to get back to me on that,
Sure.
I'd appreciate that.
For $135,000 a year, you ought to be here.
I guess the other issue really that we still, I don't believe, came to a consensus on is the salary increase for the employees. And Mary had forwarded, and I read the article that you forwarded. Don't completely understand your position. Based upon that article, you could go either way.
Well, I'm in favor of leaving the 4% in the budget. Each employee is not going to get 4%, as we've discussed. It'll be based on merit and on manager discretion. And since our employees haven't had a raise in 3 years,
Two.
well, this will be the third if we don't go forward with anything. I think I think it's appropriate. And reading what I've read and James said to us, our employees are valuable and they can go other places and make more money right off the get-go. And we spent a lot of time, money, and energy into training them. I'd like to keep them. They have a loyalty to the district, and I would hate to see them leave over, a couple dollars an hour or $1 an hour.
Well, and I agree with you, but I would also like to see this raise prorated to the lower earning employees and limited on the higher earning employees. For the exact reason that I stated at the last meeting. $4,000 to someone who makes $50,000 will do a lot more for their lifestyle than $4,000 to someone that makes 100 plus.
Don't disagree with you, but I'm not a manager of people at the district. Frank reports to me. The managers are the ones that handle the raises for their employees. And as a board member, I don't know what employees do on a daily basis, nor do I know what level of expertise or the level to which they've performed, if there's been performance issues, HR issues, their managers know. And
I understand
their manager is up to their managers to give the raises they think is appropriate. That is not a board function. Our board function, as far as raises, and is to Frank.
Our board function is to to determine the budget, and a big part of the budget is salaries. A 4% increase is excessive in this environment. Those are costs that drive our rates, that increase our customers' rates. Our customers are experiencing a high level of unemployment at this time. There is a 90% retention. I did an analysis last weekend because I happen to have the salary information from 2007 and 2008. These employees are treated very well considering employees in other industries or in other entities. And I don't believe that we will have a problem with retention if we limit the rates.
We can agree to disagree on that.
There's a 90, Mary, I did the analysis.
I'm glad you
90%
did,
of
and I
the
appreciate it.
employees are here. That's an incredible retention.
It is.
81% since
And there's a
2007, 90% since 2008.
There's a reason that the employees are here,
Yes,
because
there
we
is.
treat them right.
We do. We pay for all their flu shots and their family's flu shots. We give them a clothing allowance. We pay for their rec center. And they also have a lot of benefits for employee lunches and this sort of thing, which those kinds of things are very important in retaining employees, probably more important than pay increases. I believe that we should limit the pay increase to what the Mountain States Employers Council is saying that everyone else is limiting theirs to, and that's actually 2.2, and I was suggesting 2.5.
That was based on the people getting a raise the previous 2 years, if you read the
No,
article.
not necessarily.
That's what it stated.
Not that was the article Mary
Right.
sent, but not the information that I got off the internet, from their website.
This is from the Denver Business Journal. I find them to be fairly accurate.
If,
in the
you know,
reporting.
if that's the
So,
direction, then I cannot, no, I will not approve of it.
That would be your right as a
Yes,
board
you're right.
member to abstain or to
I'll
vote no.
just, I'll vote no. I
Okay,
believe it's excessive in this environment. There's an awfully high unemployment rate out there.
Darcy, I know, my bank's getting ready to close, so I'll be one of those numbers soon. And I'll be paying the same bills that I'm paying now. So, but we have to take care of our employees.
And we do.
And I don't feel that it's excessive, especially since it's not 4% across the board to each and every employee.
I would still like to see 2.5% allocated to the lower tier employees.
Well,
A total of 2.5%.
I would say you make that recommendation to their managers,
I would say I make the recommendation into the budget.
and that will be up to their managers. The managers know those people, we don't.
Okay. And when the final salaries are determined, could you please make a note? I want a list of those, because I want to compare and see if there was a 4% across the board increase, or if indeed it's allocated.
We have already had a discussion with the supervisor, so that as they're doing their evaluations, they are working on that also.
Okay,
But I
and I'll
will
need
see
that,
what you-
then
I understand.
when the salaries are completely,
It'll be after the
determined, I
first
will
of the year,
that's fine,
close to it.
because I'm keeping a spreadsheet.
Any other questions on the budget that we need to, any other discussions we need to have? Are we finished with this discussion, or do we need to go
Oh,
further?
I guess I'll just interject in regard to the article. In talking with my administrative boss, our company's kind of had the same setting as far as what it says about top performers. He had a range of like 3 or 5% for the top performers, and then it broke down to a lesser, so but he couldn't tell me exactly what the average, because he didn't know yet what the company's percentage was as far as its overall budget goes. The breakdowns are kind of in this range for, at least I see for above top performers.
And that's typical from what I've seen over my employment history. And I guess we can, ask that the managers keep Darcy's comments in mind about the lower performers versus the numbers. But I can tell you it's very insulting to be told you're not going to get a raise or you're going to get a smaller raise because you make too much money already. Because you still work, if you're a decent employee, you're still doing the same amount of work, you're still working as hard, you're still as loyal to the company. And you will see a migration of employees if you start that policy.
So I guess I've interjected, we definitely could merit
Yes.
concept, I mean, and that's a tough issue, regard to making sure that you do it. And, you know, in the case of the district, you're not like my business where you have several grades, you have a combination, a pool of people that are kind of doing the same activities in a generic way, so it makes it a little easier to make judgments on high and low kind of thing. Us older guys, we're in the ballpark where we make up to a point where we outprice ourselves, and not because we got such big raises, it's just because of our
Your
terms
tenure.
and your tenure, so your tenure got you up to a level, and now we fight a battle, and that's why the old guys are getting kicked out.
So new people were less expensive. Shep? Mike? Any other discussions?
No. I'll offer a motion to accept Resolution 2011-6, the resolution to adopt this budget. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
No?
Resolution 2011-6 is passed. Okay, moving on to Resolution 2011-7, which is resolution to appropriate sums of money. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this? Pretty straightforward. Okay,
I'll make a motion to pass Resolution 2011-7, the resolution to appropriate sums of money.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Oh, we had a second. Second, then, yes, I thought I heard one down there.
Okay.
Apologies.
All right. For the motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No?
Resolution to set mill levies. Resolution 2011-08. Any questions or comments for Ann on this?
Yeah, I got one. Down in section 3, are we doing the first or second options?
First or second, what? I didn't-
Options that are stated, or I read it as options in section 3.
Where it gives the district manager the authority to make any adjustments in the mill levy. That's because on early in December, we will get a new assessed valuation for the district. And so it could, depending on how it's adjusted, it could set our mill levy, using this mill levy as being too high or even way too low. So it just gives the manager the option using the new